Hey, you're watching Vinyl 4 Miles, your best resource for music, audio gear, and vinyl reviews. Today, we're doing a guitar video. We're checking out Donner's Squier guitar, the DST-400. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Michael. This is Vinyl 4 Miles. What we do here is audio gear, guitar gear, vinyl, anything having to do with my hobbies or music that I'm into, I'm gonna bring you content. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and give me a subscribe, hit the bell notification while you're at it. Today we're taking a look at some guitar gear, another product sent to me from Donner. It is the DST-400. This is a single humbucker configuration Strat style guitar. This was sent to me for a review. I've had it for about 2 weeks, been playing with it, completely reset this thing up, and I did some recording with it. So before I dive into the specifications and appointments on this guitar, why don't we hear what it sounds like in a mix? Let's go. So now that we've heard what this guitar sounds like, why don't we go ahead, take the strings off, take the pickguard off, take a look at the electronics and the different components and specifications on the guitar. Let's go. All right, so I have all the strings taken off. I've undone all the screws on the pickguard itself, and I've taken off the back plate as well. So taking a deeper look at this guitar, we have this really beautiful transparent turquoise finish on here. Ignore the handprints on the finish. It's a nice high gloss. There was no imperfections that I can find on the finish of this. It was actually done really well. So the first thing I wanted to take a look at is the pickguard. So this is a 3-ply pickguard. It's pretty thick. And I wanted to show you what the electronics look like underneath. So the pickguard is kind of wedged underneath this little shelf here on the neck. So you just gotta lift it up and pop it out. So a very clean job on the wiring. The solder joints look really clean. The only cheap components I can see being used here is just the wire gauge itself looks pretty cheap. Nonetheless, it's actually really clean. We got a capacitor over on the tone knob. The tone knob is a push-pull circuit, so that should, if I'm looking at the wires correctly, split the humbucker on the last position since this is a fat Strat setup. The branding on the pickups here, they are just Chinese. So that takes care of the pickguard. It is a white 3-ply pickguard. We do have a 2-point tremolo system on this. So you can see right here, we have a chromed out 2-point trem. I'm actually a really big fan of 2-point tremolo systems. I really don't like the vintage kind that have the 6 screws because you have to adjust 6 different screws. The intonation points on the bridge are very Fender looking. I don't like the fact that these little screws stick out so far. It does get a little agitating if your hand's resting on it. So I might raise the string height just a little bit to bring some of these screws down. Intonation point is with a screw, typical of like a Fender type style. We have a recessed input jack here. Then if we flip it over, this is what the back of the trem system looks like. We have our trem plate here, 3 springs that are in place, and it looks like a copper plate at the top here, your adjustment plate. Interesting. I've never seen a copper one like that used before. You do have your ground wire soldered pretty cleanly on there. And this is not a recessed joint, so your cover on the back, which is a 3-ply cover, just goes on top. It will stick out a little bit. So on the neck plate here, we do have a Donner branded neck plate. It says established in 2012, crafted in China. Doesn't say made in China, it says crafted in China. The neck joint here is just square. It's not tapered. So, I mean, if you're gonna be playing guitar solos high up on this neck, expect your hand to hit this pretty hard. It looks like a typical Squier or classic Fender neck joint. Nothing too crazy here. We do get a very nice rosewood fretboard. There's no cracks that I can see. The grain on the rosewood is a little deep in some areas. That's to be expected. We do have some silver fretboard markers, which is pretty interesting. I've never seen silver used before. Usually it's white or pearl or abalone. So these are silver ones. They're probably plastic or pearloid. We do have some medium frets here. And the fret job is actually really good. They dress these pretty well. If you feel the side of them here, it's not very sharp. You're not going to cut your hands on it. Overall, really impressed with the quality of work that they put into this guitar for the price point. Some little nitpicks here and there. So on the side here, if you see where the fret ends are, they are recessed into the rosewood. And there's just a few points on here that you can see the finish bubbling a little bit. That primarily has to do with the neck, which is made of wood. The wood could contract, but the frets are made of metal. So of course they don't contract, and that can cause the little ends to stick out just a little bit. Very typical with overseas guitars when you have humidity changes and environmental changes. So good thing is it's not fully sticking out. It just is bubbling a little bit. But again, for the price point, it's not a deal breaker. Flipping the guitar over. We do have a maple neck on this, and this is actually a super clean maple neck. And there's even some like flaming going on at the top here. I'm not sure if you can see it. But overall, this is comparable to a Mexican-made Fender or a Squier. Actually really impressed with the back of this neck. We do get some vintage-style tuners with a string tree. We have the Donner logo on here in silver, and it says Seeker Series. My nitpick here is you can barely see the Donner. They probably should have gone with something much darker so you can see the Donner logo. But if they were going for a more subtle branding, I guess they hit the mark on that. They're definitely a solid tuning key. You can always swap these out. I think they have some tuning keys on Amazon for like 20, 30 bucks. That'll probably be an upgrade to this. But I mean, the guitar's staying in tune, so I'm not really worried about it. The nut on here, it looks to just be a plastic nut. I don't think this is tusk. This came with some light strings. I'm going to be putting 10s on this. I don't need to do any adjustments here because they did cut it to fit 10s, it looks like, even though it came with 9s. That's the biggest thing I would recommend for you guys is change the strings when you get this, because the strings that came on it were very cheap and had trouble staying in tune, and just overall not the best quality strings. So definitely think about swapping those out. Looks like we have some standard strap buttons in here. And that pretty much does it for the specifications and like the technical aspect of this guitar. There is a few tooling marks on the fretboard here. Not going to really be noticeable once I restring this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to condition the fretboard. I'm going to put some lubrication on the nut, and I'm going to put some lubrication here on the 2-point trim. String it up and give you guys a demo. All right, so I do have the guitar hooked into my Pro Tools rig. I have a very blackface Fender sounding preset that I'm using right now. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the cleans on here. You can get some nice surf tones with this. So the humbucker is pretty dark sounding, but if you pop out the tone knob, moving on with the coil tap turned off. Now I'm in the second position here, so this should be the humbucker and the middle pickup. I really like how this guitar sounds with the coil tap. The humbucker is not bad, but if this was my main guitar, I probably would swap out the humbucker for something a little hotter and a little brighter because it is very dark. All right, moving on. Now we're just in the middle position. We're in the fourth position now towards the neck. This is going to be both single coils turned on. Then finally, we have the neck position. That's all the different positions when it comes to a clean sound. Why don't we go ahead and switch over to something a little more dirty. Go ahead and switch over to the neck, hear what the neck sounds like in the lead mode. So next thing I want to do is try out the trem. Let's see how deep I can go and how far I can bend the tremolo down. I'm gonna hit my first open string and just let it do a dive bomb. So it's still in tune. Very impressed with the trem on here. This guitar stayed perfectly in tune. I went very, very low on the dive bombs that I was doing there. So very happy to see that this thing can actually stay in tune with a 2-point trem on here. Why don't we wrap the sound demo up and we're gonna go to my final thoughts. All right, so what are my final thoughts on the guitar? It goes for $259 right now, 100% worth the ticket price. It stays in tune very well. I would suggest stripping off the stock strings and potentially changing the bridge pickup if you want to do more hard rock. It's pretty low output and a little bit muddy and dark. I thought it sounded really good though with the coil tap on. So for my purposes, I would probably always keep the coil tap on when I'm playing this guitar. The body itself, this translucent blue, just looks beautiful, but the craftsmanship on this is definitely better than your Affinity Squiers and Squier Bullets. I would spend my money on this guitar any day rather than buy one of the cheaper Squiers or one of the cheaper Yamahas that are out there. So definitely give Donner a look. If you want to learn more about this guitar, I have some links below. Please go check them out. If you're interested in purchasing, again, I have a purchase link below as well. Overall, just a great package. Now, if you're a professional musician, probably go with something a little higher quality than this, or if you do want to start off with this, you can upgrade the pickups, upgrade your tuners, and you probably will have a solid guitar to gig with. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this is the Donner DST-400. This is the humbucker and this 2 single coil configuration with a 2-point trem. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. You can check out some of my other guitar related reviews up here. If you're into vinyl, don't worry, more vinyl videos are on the way. You can check out some vinyl playlists up here. And again, thanks so much for watching the video. Until next time, I'm Michael. See ya.